Hi, good morning to all of you. Today, we are going to have a special session on current affairs for this year's main examination. So let us look at what are the important topics that we are going to discuss over a series of classes as part of this current affairs session. In between, if you have any kind of doubts also, if you want to add more topics also, you can also let me know so that we can discuss all those topics. Starting with, as we keep on saying, when we talk about this current affairs in the UPSC examination, uh, your interview is based on mostly two important things. One is your DAF. Second one is, the current affairs. There's a current events. So this DAF and current events is what that really decides your performance at the end of the day. And as far as DAF is concerned, as we discussed in our previous session also, you have to focus on your home state, your hobbies, your education qualifications, your work experience, your other extracurricular activities. That is what you'll be focusing on your DAF. As far as your this current events are concerned, what we can do is that we can divide this current events into various parts. First one is political. This is where the maximum amount of problems can be faced by the students because they'll be asking mostly what you call uh, sensitive questions where they are expected to come out with your opinion regarding the current political events. This is where the students can also find it a little bit more difficult also. Economic, this is not at all difficult at all because if you have basic knowledge of economics and also if you know basic aspects of your Indian economy, then it should not be difficult because there will not be that much of controversy here. And the third one is related to administrative. Basically, they will ask you about corruption or politicization of civil services. These are all the things. And fourth one is this international relations. Fourth one is this IR, international relations. This is also very important because nowadays UPSC is also focusing good amount of questions on IR also. Then let us look at all of them one by one. And next one is they can ask you something about the social and cultural aspects of the country also. Because this is where, again, the questions can be a little bit more tricky, a little bit more analytical also. So let us look at all of them one by one. So what are the important political events that we can expect this year in terms of the questions? What are the important ones? Of course, the first one is this one nation, one election. Because recently parliamentary committee also started discussing about it. We can see so many articles also about this one nation, one election. So this is a very important topic as far as current political events are concerned. Then second one is this parliament, because recent parliamentary session where it was almost completely washed out. And the third one is the opposition parties have tried to bring no confidence motion against vice president. They try to bring this no confidence motion against vice president. This is also a very sensitive issue, and this is where you have to be a little bit more careful also in terms of coming out with your answers. And then the next one is as far as political events are concerned, there's union state relations. Union state relations. Why? Because especially 16th Finance Commission, then South Indian states. This is another issue. Next issue is in South Indian states, some chief ministers have said that they have asked the people of the state to increase population, especially the states of Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So they can ask questions about these things. The next political issue they can ask about is the judiciary. They can ask questions about judicial activism or some other Supreme Court judgments, because that is also a very important issue nowadays that we find in newspapers also. Next issue that we have to look at here is at this point of time, the next issue that we have to look at here is uh, after judiciary, we have to look at this after judiciary. The next issue is this. Recently we have seen so many people dying because of this crowd management. Recently in Tirupati also. And then they can ask you questions about Kumbh Mela. They can ask you questions about Kumbh Mela. Then the next issue that you can expect is this uniform civil code, or as our Prime Minister calls it, as a secular civil code. Uniform or a secular civil code. This is also a very sensitive issue now. And then next one is this reservations, women reservations. Women reservations. Women reservations, especially in state assemblies as well as the parliament. This is also a very important issue. Nowadays, we are looking at this one. Next issue is, since all of you are going to be attending your interviews in Delhi only, this Delhi pollution. Pollution of Delhi, and what are the measures taken by the government. As part of this, as an extension to this, they can ask questions about what are the countries around the world doing to look into this environmental degradation. Why they are not giving importance to this environmental degradation. Then the next issue here is, even which is related to this only, this wildfires in Los Angeles, California. Wildfires. And then next one is this in the recent times also, this minorities, the rights of minorities. And apprehensions, which is related to, again, you talk about what's the bill. So that is also again a sensitive issue, because the problem is that if the questions are asked from these type of things, more than your answers, they'll be looking at your responses, whether you'll be uncomfortable in terms of your response or not, whether you want to be in a little bit more confidence in your answers or not, because everyone knows that these kind of questions will have mostly opinionated answers. But they would like to see whether you have that kind of ability to come out of that what you call difficult and sensitive situations. That is the objective. That is the reason these are all what we call mostly these difficult questions to test your presence of mind, to test your conviction, to test your confidence in yourself. That is what these are the things. So this is what another thing that we can talk about the political aspects, political issues. And then the next issue is the recent elections in Maharashtra. And another thing is that, of course, 2024 Lok Sabha elections. They can ask you a very simple question. This is what in the last time also when the elections were held in 2019, most of the students were asked the same question. Which party did you vote for in the recent elections? Because it does not really matter whichever party you have voted for. The only thing is that whether you have the confidence to come out with your answer or not. Because as a citizen of the country, you have the right to vote to anyone whom you like. But they would like to see whether they are comfortable talking about your choices or not. Then the most important issue nowadays is in politics, Ambedkar. Ambedkar issue. The statement made by Home Minister and what the opposition parties are saying regarding that. What is the response of the government? The issue is related to Ambedkar. denigration of Ambedkar by the statement of the Home Minister. They'll ask what is your opinion about it, right? So these are all, you can say, some of the political issues that we find in a in and then of course they can ask a question about coalition government. And what is this difference between a single party rule and a coalition party government? And this coalition government, single party rule and coalition government. They can ask you about the difference between single party rule and coalition government also. Because is there any change in the functioning of the government with the single party rule and coalition government? They can ask you, did you find any kind of differences in terms of the functioning of the government? They can ask you these things. So these are all the issues related to, you can say, polity. As I said, most of the issues are mostly sensitive. And this is where the students can find it difficult. Because as I said, they'll ask you straightforward, which party did you vote for in the recent Lok Sabha elections? Simple. And that is where, suddenly people will get uncomfortable and they start here looking at here and there. Hey, you can talk about whichever party you have voted for, no problem. Yeah, that is your right to it is a part of your rights also. But only thing is that you should not have that kind of any kind of inconvenience that can be seen on your face when you're talking about your choices. So this is what about most of the political issues. And of course, if you are from Karnataka, you can have state-specific issues also. Tamil Nadu also state-specific issues because the conflict between the central and state governments, the misuse of powers of governors. And you can add one more thing in this recent controversy in Tamil Nadu State Assembly. Controversy in Tamil Nadu State Assembly, wherein the governor had left the assembly session because he said that it was not sung, national anthem was not sung in the assembly. So you can expect these kind of questions. Now proceeding further, let us look at what are the questions that they can ask from economy. What are the questions they can ask from economy? Let us see what are all the questions that they can ask from economy. First one is obviously the slowing down of Indian economy. Slowing down of Indian economy. As the latest quarterly data makes it slowing down of Indian economy. They can ask you for the results for slowing down of Indian economy. If you are to be the finance secretary, what will you do? How will you come up with solutions? That is what. Second one is the recent farmers agitation in Punjab demanding MSP, legalization of MSP. This is another major issue. Third issue here is this unemployment. Last year budget also spoke about it, and even this year budget also we can expect them to talk about unemployment. Then the fourth issue with the economy is inflation. How this inflation is calculated, and what is the controversy between the government and the Reserve Bank of India regarding the calculation of inflation? Because ultimately, this inflation targeting is the one that really determines the fixing of interest rates by Reserve Bank of India, repo rates and reverse repo rates. And there is a lot of conflict between the finance ministry and the RBI also regarding this. In a recent economic survey also has suggested that this food inflation should be taken out of this inflation so that RBI can have a little bit more flexibility in terms of determining interest rates. So they will ask all those things. Next issue related to economy is this, especially manufacturing sector. Slowing down of a manufacturing sector. This is what exactly the recent report also has mentioned. Not only manufacturing sector, MSME also. MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises. What are the steps taken by the government and why they have not been successful? And if you happen to see recently, almost everywhere on social media, everywhere, there's a high tax regime of India, taxation, especially after the recent GST Council meeting, when our finance minister has differentiated between different types of popcorn and imposed different rates on popcorn. So the questions will be about lot about this GST. There will be a lot of questions about GST also. Then continue with the economy only. This one impact of uh, this American President Donald Trump on global economy, and its direct impact on India also, because Trump is talking about imposing a huge amount of tariffs. He's talking about imposing a lot of tariffs against countries like India and China. Then next issue is this impact of China, very important. Even economic survey also last year has spoken a lot about this impact of China on Indian economy, because right now China has a huge amount of abundance of all the important minerals that are needed for chip production and everything else. So that is where again, and the most important one is AI, artificial intelligence. How this artificial intelligence is going to impact our Indian economy in particular, and world economy in general. Can this artificial intelligence result in more unemployment? Can it result in more unemployment? This artificial intelligence. What are the alternative sources of employment for the people then, under those circumstances? If artificial intelligence is taking away all the employment. Next important issue, again continuing with the economy, is impact of climate change on economy in general and agriculture in particular. Economy in general and agriculture in particular, impact of climate change. Then continue with the economy. The next important thing, subsidies. These freebies announced by all political parties. How they are going to impact the financial position of the states as well as the central government. Definitely, will have a good number of questions, because even in the coming Delhi elections, also almost all three political parties have promised only freebies. In Maharashtra and Jharkhand, it is said that those political parties had won elections only on the basis of those freebies and transferring money into the accounts of people, DBTs. Even in Karnataka, also the 5 promises made by the Congress government. In Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, in all these places, what we have seen is that this competitive populism. So this they will ask, this competitive populism is it going to ruin Indian economy in the long term? What is the solution? Competitive populism. And what is the solution to this problem? If you have to be finance minister, or for that matter, finance secretary, what kind of solutions can you come out with these things? Competitive populism. This is what right now is a hot topic as far as the economy is concerned. Then proceeding further, our economy, our foreign trade, especially exports and imports. What is the present condition? And when can this foreign trade be an engine of growth? Engine of growth, especially in a world which is more characterized by controls and protectionism, especially a world which is now characterized by more controls and more protectionism. Can India depend on this foreign trade uh, to be an engine of our growth? If not, how to ensure in a 8% growth? So that is what next question. What are the challenges to 8% growth? And how to overcome those challenges? What are the challenges to 8% growth, and how to overcome those challenges? Next, in a continuing economy, they can also ask a lot of questions about the skill development, which can provide employment to people also. What the governments are doing for skill development, and how this skill development can ultimately lead to more productive employment for the people. How the skill development can lead to more employment for the people. Next question is this debt trap faced by some state governments, especially it is said that the states like Tamil Nadu and Punjab are facing a debt trap kind of situation because of the freebie culture. They're not in a position to pay the salaries of their employees also. Next question is, in economy is this finance commission, because Social Finance Commission is set up. Should Finance Commission give importance to efficiency or equity in terms of efficiency or equity in terms of its recommendations? Efficiency or equity. Then the other questions in economy is basically this economy and the society are social issues combined with urbanization. What are the perils of urbanization in India? What are the major problems, challenges of urbanization? What are the major challenges of urbanization that the country is facing now? Then after this, they can ask you about the long-term outlook for Indian economy. What do you think will be there in the next 20-25 years? Because by 2047, the government is talking about Viksit Bharat. So what are the challenges to this Viksit Bharat? What are the challenges to Viksit Bharat? Can India become a developed country by 2047? Developed country means our per capita income should be more than $14,800. Is it possible for India to increase per capita income? Present around $2,000, $2,200 to $14,800. So what India can do, what India must do to achieve this target by 2047, in the next 22 years, what should we do? This is what another issue related to Indian economy. Then proceeding further, when we are talking about this increasing the per capita income and everything else, what are the major infrastructure bottlenecks that the country is facing? Bottlenecks the country is facing. So this is what all we can say about economy as such, covering agriculture, then industry, then service sector, then employment, poverty, and then they can also ask you questions about this rising inequalities between the rich and poor, rising inequalities between the rich and poor people. What are the inequalities that are the reason? What are the reasons why these inequalities are going up between the rich and poor people? And the policies of the government, are these policies of the government are helping to overcome these inequalities? Because every government, what they are trying to do, each and every government each and every government is trying to provide temporary relief to the people from poverty by giving them all these subsidies. Can that be helpful in overcoming these inequalities? Or what else should the government do? Then next important question related to economy is women, contribution of women, because they constitute 48.5% of our population. But what is their contribution to our GDP, and how this gender equality, gender empowerment can be achieved? Gender equality and gender empowerment. And some of the controversial ones also in recent times, as you must have seen in the newspapers also, some of the controversial ones. Narendra Modi saying that 70 hours work per week. And then L&T chairman speaking about 90 hours per week. When Western countries are moving towards 4-day week work culture, why in India we are talking about 70 hours and 90 hours? Can this kind of increase in quantity lead to quality? What is more important, hard work or smart work? Because this is what recently we have seen all these statements also. So this is what another issue related to economy, because these are the things that we see in the newspapers. By the time some of you go for interview, budget must have been presented also. Because some of you might be having your interviews in February or March. So then, for those of you, again, this budget will become very important. Budget and economic survey. What I'll be doing is that I'll be taking special classes for budget and economic survey. One class for economic survey and another class for budget. I'll take a special class for this budget and economic survey. Right? So this is what about economy. Now, proceeding further, let us look at IR, international relations. In the recent past, what we are witnessing is that UPSC is focusing a lot more on international relations also in their interview. At least if the interview is around 25 minutes time, around 5 minutes, they are focusing specifically only on international relations. So you have to be very thorough with them also. But the good thing about these things is that at the end of the day, if you don't know answers to the questions, you can say with confidence, I beg your pardon, sir, I don't know. Because these are all mostly factual questions. If you don't know, it is fine, no problem. So what are the basically international relations, and what are the things that we are looking at? India and its relationship with all neighbors. They are asking all the neighbors. For example, now Bangladesh, a major source of conflict, Bangladesh, especially what happened after Sheikh Hasina. Then India, China is always a favorite with the interview board all the time, because recently India has signed a border agreement with the Chinese, but still China is building two more small cities there near the borders, provinces that come out with it. India has strongly opposed it, saying that coming out with new provinces does not mean it will change the demography or geography of the place. Then next one is India, Pakistan will always be there. Of course, nowadays it is not that much critical because Pakistan itself is facing so many internal problems. And another thing is that India, Afghanistan, because Taliban is trying to engage with India nowadays actively. If you happen to read the newspapers, it is creating a lot of discomfort for Pakistan. That is the reason why recently Pakistan army also has bombed some of the areas in Afghanistan also. Yeah, they did not like India, Taliban to be coming closer to India. So that is what they think. Next, India and Sri Lanka, because recently the Sri Lankan president also had come to India also. And for a long time, in the recent past, we have seen that Sri Lanka was moving close to China. And China has a strategy of this string of pearls. That is also very important, India and China. And of course, in India and this Maldives, the controversy related to what the Maldives president had said some time back and all those things. India and Maldives. And then Bhutan, one country with which we don't have any kind of issues is Bhutan. We don't have any kind of problems with Bhutan. But they can ask you the question like, why India is having problems with all its neighbors? right? When our external affairs minister was also saying question, he said that you know it is not that we have problems with all our neighbors. We have been trying to improve our relationship with all our neighbors, but there are some kind of situations which are beyond our control also. That is where it can be problematic. For example, what happened in Bangladesh, those developments are not in our hands. And India still is trying to be good with the new government in Bangladesh, Member Yunus government. So this is what about it. And then after India and its neighbors, obviously the questions will be about Indo-US. Indo-US. As I said, by the time he got to interview, Trump would have been the president also, and his style of functioning will be known to the people very in the beginning itself, because right now he's going there with this slogan, Make America Great Again." So how that kind of a thing will be impacting India? They can ask a very good number of questions on because Indo-US means we are not only talking about economic relationship, we are talking about a strategic partnership, defense relationship, and then cultural relationship, because so many Indians are there in Trump's administration. Also, in fact, there is so much of heartburn among this Republicans that Trump is taking mostly Indians only in top level positions. Ramaswamy is made the minister for this Department of Government Efficiency. Like this, there are so many Indians there. So that is where even FBI chief is also will be Indian only. Patel. So those are the things. And then and Indo-US and Russian trilateral relationship also. Of course, nowadays we have moved from Russia to US only long time back after globalization. But still, Russia is still a very important partner for India. And this kind of trilateral relationship also they can ask. And then the next thing is this Indo-France relationship, because our Prime Minister will be going to France again next month, and we are going to sign more agreements with France, especially Rafale and other things. And Indo-German relationship also. Germany also has shown a lot of interest in our in developing a strategic relationship with India, Indo-German relationship. And of course, on the eastern front, you have Indo-Japan. And then there's four countries alliance: India, US, Japan, and Australia. There's a security alliance to counter, the Russia and China axis. That is what we talk about it. And then at the multilateral level in United Nations and its relevance in the present day circumstances. What is the relevance of United Nations in the present day circumstances? Then the question about, can India use its soft power to influence the global relationships? Can India use its soft power? Because there are so many Indians in almost all the countries around the world. And then as part of this IR only, these climate summits, you'll be studying this as part of your environment also. This Conference of Parties, COP. And then this WTO. Why WTO has become less relevant in this globalized world? And then the importance of these customs unions, trade unions, due to the failure of WTO. And India did not become part of RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. What could be the impact of this on Indian economy in the long term? RCEP. Then, still, if we want to talk about this SARC, SARC, and recently India did not attend the meeting of this countries in Pakistan. Did not attend. What is that grouping? China has monopolized that Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO. China has monopolized the entire SCO because India did not attend it. What are the consequences? So this is another thing. And then even in Nepal also, because uh, in the recent past we have seen that Nepal is moving closer to China. And what would be the consequences of this kind of India being encircled by Chinese all the in the entire Indian Ocean? So this is what another important aspect of international relations. And then, as I mentioned, this what about the future of these multilateral organizations like IMF and World Bank? Because recently they had been in the news for imposing conditionalities on Pakistan as well as Sri Lanka because their economies had collapsed and they had taken loan from Pakistan. They had taken loan from this IMF. They imposed conditionalities. And developing countries like India had come out with this BRICS as an alternative to uh, you know IMF and World Bank. What is the future of this BRICS? How this BRICS is going to can this BRICS be alternative to World Bank and IMF? And then there's a groupings G20, G8, then G20, G8. Then of course the question will always be there. When can India expect to become part of a permanent member of Security Council, United Nations? UNSA, permanent member of United Nations Security Council. So these are all, in general, questions related to international relations. As I said, they are asking good number of questions from IR also. At least 4 or 5 minutes of your interview can be about IR. They're asking. Then proceeding further, in general, what are the other topics they can ask? We have seen polity, economy, and IR in general. Yeah, I'll come to that. Administrative. In a in administrative, they can ask questions about politicization of civil services. Politicization of civil services. Then they can ask you about corruption. They can ask you about the controversy related to lateral entry into civil services. Controversy related to lateral entry into civil services. They can ask you questions about accountability mechanisms in our administration. Accountability mechanisms in administration. Then they can ask you questions about the RTI because again, if you happen to see this RTI, we can keep on reading a lot of news about RTI. Supreme Court keeps on interfering, and the state governments are not willing to appoint members to information commissions, both central and state governments. So they can ask questions about RTI. And then this one, election commission, appointment of members to election commission. Again, Supreme Court will be taking up the case because last year Supreme Court had come out with the judgment saying that election commission members should be appointed by a committee consisting of Chief Justice of Supreme Court, Prime Minister, and leader of opposition. But the government had come out with a legislation saying removing a Chief Justice with a minister in the union government. Next month, the present Chief Election Commissioner is going to retire, and the government will have to appoint election commissioners and also Chief Election Commissioner. And that is when APAL was filed, and Supreme Court has said that they will come out with the judgment before the government appoints the new Chief Election Commissions. So this is a very important one, Election Commission. Reforms in election commission because there is so much opposition against election commission. And then model code of conduct. Model code of conduct. Then when it comes to administrative, this as a delivery of service in a service delivery mechanisms. What kind of suggestion can you give to improve service delivery mechanisms? Especially, you can have good number of questions from education and health. Good number of questions from education and health. You can have. You will have a good number of questions from education and health because these two sectors which are being routinely regulated by both the central and state governments. You have questions about the commercialization of education and health sectors. You have questions about national education policy and national health policy. National Education Policy 2020. What are the major challenges in implementing this national education policy and national health policy? So these are the issues that they can ask you from the dimension of administration. Because since all of you are going to be administrators, they can focus a lot more on these kind of aspects. They will ask you, what if you're tomorrow you are a district collector? What can you do to improve your health infrastructure in the district? What can you do to improve health infrastructure? Why health expenditure is not resulting in health outcomes? Why health expenditure not resulting in health outcomes? What kind of improvements can you suggest in our health sector? And can the schemes like PMJAY help you in overcoming all the problems in the health sector? Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Ayushman Bharat. Can they help you in ultimately overcoming the problems? And I think, did I mention lateral entry into civil services? Yeah, lateral entry civil services. That's very important. Because, and then they can ask you about civil services reforms. They will say that what kind of reform that should be implemented in our civil services at this point of time. Civil services reforms. And yesterday only Supreme Court had asked the government to take a decision on reservations. They can also ask you the questions. Is it time for us to end reservations in our country? Again, please remember the objective of asking all these questions is not find out answers from you, because everyone knows what are the answers to all these questions. The only thing is how you react to these questions is what that they are looking at. Your response is more important than your answers. That is where you have to be more careful. As Supreme Court also has said that we cannot take the decisions related to reservations. The decisions have to be taken by legislature and executive. That is what they have said, right? And then, as I said, this one crowd management, as I mentioned previously, also is one important question because of the kind of unfortunate incidents that are taking place all over the country, especially in terms of this religious congregations. Recently what happened in Hathras in Uttar Pradesh, so many people died there. Now, why in India we are not able to come out with proper measures? And they will ask you tomorrow, if you become district collector and due to a religious festival, around uh, 5 lakh people are expected to attend. What kind of measures would you take to ensure the safety and security of the people and also comfort and basic necessities to the people? What kind of proactive measures will you take? Because that is what you are going to do when you become a district collector. So that is why resume they can ask you these questions. Crowd management. Then increasing pollution in our urban cities, in urban areas. Increasing pollution in our urban areas. And this one, this failure to implement 73rd and 74th amendments. our failure to implement 73rd and 74th amendments. Most of the states have not really conducted elections to these local bodies. Yesterday, Tamil Nadu state government has also postponed elections to these rural local self-governments. The Karnataka also, the state government has not conducted elections to local bodies for a long time. In Maharashtra also, they have not conducted elections for a long period of time. So what can be done? How to make sure that this third tier would become truly a part of our federalism, third tier in governance. It would become truly a part of our federalism. Of our federalism. They can also questions about the tendency to pass bills without any discussion or debate on the floor of the House. In the last 17th Lok Sabha, more than 35% of the bills were passed in less than 1 hour without any discussion or debate. And then they can automatically go to electoral reforms. Because in the present Lok Sabha also, more than 47% of our MLAs, MPs have criminal records against them. They have these criminal records against them. They can ask all these questions. Right. So these are the issues that we can discuss over a period of next maybe 15 or 20 days or so. We'll discuss all of them. As and when I have time, we can have 1 hour session where I will discuss all these issues. And on your part also, what you can do is that if you have any kind of problems or if you find any more issues, you can always send me messages. I think all of you have my number also. You can send me messages, and I will also include those things as part of our discussions. We can do all of this. Those who are attending online also, they can do all those things. Which are asking any questions? Are we supposed to summarize the issue before we start answering? This is a good question. What you have to remember is that you should always come out with very crisp, precise, simple answers. As I keep on saying, they are not at all concerned about your answer. You can always first give your opinion, and then they will ask you to explain it. Then you can explain it, rather than first explaining and then giving the opinion. So it is better first to come out with your answer. As I said, I'm only looking at your response, but not your answer. So you can, as I said, which political party you have voted for in the recent elections. You can say either BJP or Congress or any other party that you have voted for. And then, if they want, you can give the explanation. Otherwise, you don't have to. Because the objective, basically, they are looking for your own responses, not for your answers. Okay, this is what we are going to do. And you'll be informed about the timing of the classes that I will be taking maybe from tomorrow onwards in advance by the institute. And in between, as I mentioned, if you have any kind of doubts, you can always message me. And if I think that that can be discussed in the class also, I'll be doing all those things in our classes. Basically, ultimately, the objective is to make sure that because this is the difference between mains and interview is that in the mains you have to write a lot. In interview, you don't have to do anything. You just have to come out with very simple, precise, crisp responses. And that is what we try to do as part of our discussions. So the discussion will not be like your mains current affairs classes. Obviously, that is different because for all the questions that I have mentioned here, you have some kind of idea about the answers for all these questions. But how to give best answers to those questions is what we are trying to do as part of our classes. That is what we'll be doing, right? So I think we have one more session now. So best of luck, and in between, if you have any kind of doubts, you can always message.
Nice.